And is that painful as well?
Very painful. The pain just won't stop.
Help me, Marceline. And you say you've been vomiting as well? When did the pain first start, Mr. McFarlane?
He's been complaining on and off for a while, but now it's got worse, Doctor, and he keeps being sick.
You really should have called me out earlier. Would you happen to know where the nearest telephone is?
Yes, at Red Lanes. That's where the shepherd rang you from earlier this morning. He hurried all the way there.
Red Lanes, that's about 7 miles away. Is there not a telephone in any of the farms around here?
I don't think so, Doctor.
Well, now, if you could keep your husband just as he is. Don't let him get out of bed.
But we can't afford to have him ill. He's got work to do.
Your husband is ill, Mr. McFarlane, and you're to have to call for an ambulance. That big house on the other side of the crag, surely they have a telephone that's working.
I really wouldn't know, Doctor.
Hello? Can you help me? Hello there?
Help is all I wanted. Christian help. I called out, and this person simply ignored me.
Did you know him?
No, but he must have known who I was. Must have recognized the car, must have realized it was an emergency.
And Mr. McFarlane?
Strangulated hernia, probably. He's on his way to hospital, but only just.
I'm sorry you missed your breakfast, Doctor.
So am I.
Can I get you a bite of something before I get on with the filing?
No, I'll wait.
What filing is this?
Oh, Dr. Neil's asked me to get some of his patient's records up to date.
Trouble I had trying to get an ambulance out to that godforsaken place.
South Crag, well, that's a beautiful part of the world.
For bird watchers or ghosts, perhaps. Not for me. Do you have a busy surgery?
No, quiet. One strained muscle, a couple of sore throats. I'm beginning to wonder if they're staying away.
Who?
The patients.
Why should they?
Because they may have decided that we're paying more attention to pots of paint than we are to the sick and needy. All this glaring brightness, I mean, it's unnatural to the eye. Not even a curtain or two to soften things.
We're having blinds made.
Blinds? Oh, dear Lord, it looked like the refrigeration room of the city mortuary. I suppose Dr. Neil appeals that the duty to be modern shares your lack of aesthetic taste.
He's in full agreement for the need for such a practical colour scheme, yes.
Yeah, but then he doesn't have to live with it, does he? He's leaving.
The man I saw, the man who deliberately chose to ignore my call for help, was walking in the direction of a large house. Naturally, I assumed he lived there.
Thank you, Rona.
And a large house usually has a telephone.
We prefer to serve new potatoes in a warmed bowl on the table, Rona.
Not on the plate.
No, never on the plate. Only your potatoes and mashed potatoes get served on a plate. Go and get the pie and the gravy from the kitchen.
Anyway, I went to the house. It was a couple of miles down from the McFarlane cottage, beyond Whitemuir. And it did happen to have a phone. I saw the cable. I knocked on the door twice, but no one answered.
You must mean the Getty place, Doctor.
What?
You just help yourself to potatoes, Doctor.
Thank you, Rona.
Of course, I couldn't see the man clearly from that distance. He was wearing a long coat and a large hat. He'd 2 dogs with him. He looked more of a landowner than a field worker.
Hey, that sounds like James Getty.
So, who's James Getty?
Will this be enough for you, Dr. Cameron?
Fine.
Did you bring in the gravy, Rona?
Yes, it's there.
Oh, yes, that's the brilliant. Come on, let's go and have our lunch.
That's what too much blethering does for you.
Oh.
The potatoes are cold.
Yes. And you've got a bed? Right. Thank you. They're having to operate on Mr. McFarlane, so I'd better try to get out to South Crag again today to tell his wife. Oh, and I need to have a word with Gilmore about those patients of his.
Considering the workload, can we really afford to take on Dr. Gilmore's patients at the moment?
Of course we should take them on. When wheels start turning, we're going to need all the patients we can get.
With just 1.5 doctors running the whole shebang.
I've left you two in a bit of a mess, haven't I? Yes, but I dare say we'll survive. Oh, Janet, this man Getty out at Whitemuir, what can you tell me about him?
Oh, not much. The house must have been connected to the telephone exchange at one time. Oh, a great deal of entertaining used to go on there by all accounts. But I shouldn't think it's in use now.
Why?
Because I doubt if James Getty had any need of a telephone. He's lived the life of a recluse for the last 10 years.
Correct bandages, 1 3/4 inches plaster, swabs, codeine tablets. Huh?
I'm building up the stock at the surgery.
All right, Doctor.
I'll take the codeine and the gentian violet with me now, and you could deliver the rest.
Aye, right you are, Doctor. Oh, how's young Rona? Managing to look after you all, I hope.
Oh, yes, she's doing just fine.
Oh, by the way, Doctor, I was wondering if you would care to come to supper one evening. You see, I've decided that it's time Janet and I did a little bit of entertaining prior to the wedding. I just feel that it would give us a chance to establish ourselves. As a pair, that is.
Yes, fine. Thank you.
Good. Well, I'll be in touch then. Cheerio.
Good. Very good. scabs have dried and there's no sign of any further infection. Is it still itch?
I'll leave that.
He's been good. He's not been picking at it.
You told me not to, Doctor.
That's right, Eck. I did. The very good news is that Infant Tiger doesn't leave any scars.
So, Doctor, when can he go back to school?
Well, not until the scabs are fully healed.
Well, that'll please him. He'll not be seen out with that purple stuff in his face. He wouldn't even walk down the street if he'd died.
And how is your husband?
Oh, dear. Oh, he's fine. But he hates it here. It's a shame, really. We thought he worked in a land. The wages were poor. But we had all the open countryside we needed. Field after green field. Eck loved it. Now look at us.
Aye. Well, I'll call back in a couple of days.
Hello. Harden House notepaper
Oh, thank you.
and emergency admission forms.
No, just leave them there. I take it you'll be having a desk of your own in Glasgow.
And a room.
Oh, to the heights indeed. Glasgow, in a research fellowship, you must consider yourself fortunate.
Yes. But I couldn't have done it without your help.
I'm talking about chances, David, not favours. See, the time is ripe for you. I mind when I was at Glasgow University, there were few chances then. I wanted to specialise in surgery.
So what stopped you?
What stopped me? In those days, in order to acquire the right credentials, one needed an attachment to some famous surgeon or other, which meant a very long apprenticeship with very little pay. My parents couldn't afford that, and I couldn't afford not to look after them. That's what stopped me, and that's what I mean by chances. Now, even though Professor Chalmers has been good enough to take you under his wing, I take it you'll still be wanting some kind of end-of-term report from me, eh?
Yes, please.
Something along the lines of leaving behind a tidy ship, is that it?
Sorry.
So your husband should be leaving hospital in a couple of weeks, Mrs. McFarlane. When he's home, it's important that he does no heavy lifting. Just let him rest and have plenty of fresh air.
And you'll have no shortage of fresh air, not living out here.
Oh, yes, the house at Whitemuir. Do you know the owner?
No, Doctor.
But surely whoever lives there is your nearest neighbour.
No, James Geddes' neighbour to no one. It's always been that way.
All right, I'm coming. Just in case you didn't know, Abby, this pharmacy doesn't open till 8 o'clock. On the dot. Can you no read?
Of course I can read. I'm here to collect this. And here's the money to pay for it.
Aye, well, it's not exactly an emergency now, is it?
Who said it was?
Come on in, son.
You've been invited to supper.
Yes, by Angus. He says he wants to establish Janet and himself as a pair.
No fool like an old fool. Does he think he's going to be the life and soul of the place just because he's getting married?
Seems like it.
Are you going to accept this invitation?
Well, of course I'm going to accept. And yet, I think of Janet as being part of Arden House. And I don't much relish the idea of her looking after someone else. What's funny?
You almost sound as though you're jealous.
Just a minute.
I take it you won't be seeing me off then?
Afraid not. Things to do. Busy day. Anyway, I'm not very good at send-offs.
As I remember, you weren't exactly the world's greatest welcoming committee either.
Perhaps that was because you're Dr. Cameron's choice, not mine.
So what would your choice have been?
I don't know. Someone older, I suppose. Someone I knew I could rely on. Now it seems that I was right.
And you're saying I let you down.
Of course you've let me down. I feel I've wasted time on you. Time I could ill afford to lose. Anyway, I wish you all the very best for the future.
What about your future?
Mine?
Well, a general practitioner in a small Scottish town. Is that really what you want the rest of your working life?
My working life's about to change pretty dramatically. The health service will see to that.
Health service. Still, it's not going to change for you personally, is it?
What do you mean?
Well, you'll still be stuck here. When the surgery closes at the end of each day, you'll still be alone. Still, I suppose that's always been the difference between us.
What is?
Well, I go looking for what I want out of life, and you just wait for it to come to you. Let's just hope it doesn't pass you by.
Thank you. I'll try to make sure that it doesn't.
Oh, I can't seem to shift this suitcase, Doctor.
John?
Goodbye, David.
Just what have you got in these cases anyway? The house bricks.
The Arden House silver. Let me take you away, young girl, to a place of great wealth and loveliness.
Morning, Finlay.
Dr. Gilmore.
There's something. Doctors never have time for gardens. Not good gardens. Unless they're blessed with a wife with green fingers, they're quite happy to live in jungles. However, I did have time. I made time. I made this from nothing.
Fine garden.
Yes. The people who are buying the house have been kind enough to let me take some cuttings of my favorite shrubs.
You mean you've sold the house already?
Well, as good as. Let's say negotiations are taking place.
And are you selling to someone in the medical profession, to another doctor?
No, I decided that the house could be sold separately. I'm selling it to a Mr. and Mrs. Harris from Berwick. He's in the manufacturing business, and she's an artist. Well, they want the house mainly for the garden. They have all the time in the world to look after it, so that suits me.
I must say this has all happened very quickly.
Yes, I suppose it has.
Well, you're not prepared to wait for an incoming practitioner?
No.
I suppose some people might say that you're running away.
And let them say it.
And how is your wife?
She is away at the moment by the sea. She's staying with some cousins of mine.
A rest cure.
She's looking for a possible retirement home for osteopathics. These cousins of mine are strictly chapel, dull people. They won't even allow strong tea in the house. I suppose it helps you, Finlay.
What helps me?
Well, the fact that I'm not prepared to wait and sell both home and practice as a going concern.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that exactly.
Oh, come on, man. You don't have to be coy with me. You're not here because you're interested in my well-being. You've other things on your mind. When this National Health Service pays you a capitation fee, you're going to need extra patients to boost your income. Am I right?
Well, yes.
You see, that's why you're here. You're after my patients, and you're looking for a bargain.
And am I to get a bargain?
Of course.
Right, how much?
£1,200.
What?
That does include the transfer of goodwill.
I think you'll find, Dr. Gilmore, that the value of your practice is approximately £1,000. In other words, the equivalent of a year's salary.
Very well. I'll wait.
But you've already said that you're not prepared to wait. That you've sold the house.
I said as good as. I can always change my mind. Hang on for a while, retire after the appointed day, pick up the compensation from the government that's been promised.
You could be made to wait for months.
Not necessarily.
Years, even.
Ah, but think of what would happen if I was prepared to wait.
What would happen?
Well, these patients of mine that you so dearly covet would be distributed as the Executive Council sees fit.
Yes, but I'd probably get the majority of those patients anyway.
Touché. I'm sorry, Finlay, but I won't take less than 1,200.
1,000. Even then I shall have to bother. Look, you can't ask for any more. £1,000 is the accepted sum.
Yes, but you've forgotten the goodwill and the furniture and equipment.
What furniture and equipment?
For the journey. You'll not find much in station buffets these days. That's if we can find one open.
Thanks, Janet, that's thoughtful. The very last meal prepared by your fair hand. I shall cherish every bite, thank you.
Well, get a move on. You'll be cherishing them here. Mr. McGovern doesn't like being kept waiting.
Yeah, let me give you a hand.
Oh, I'll get them, Doctor.
Dr. Cameron, thanks very much again. And when I come back, I should be expected to see a brand new consulting room and loads of white paint everywhere for Janet's wedding.
Away with you! Will I see you at the wedding?
Oh, of course, Doctor. Well, that's the only reason I'm going.
Well, you save it out for me.
Well,
Right.
good luck.
Bye.
Bye.
Stop dawdling and you might just make it to the station in time.
Oh, you'll catch his train. The kind who sometimes gets there at the last moment, but always makes it. Unlike me.
You? But you're always punctual. I doubt if you've missed a train in your life.
No, but I've fear of Mr. Boat or two in my time.
Well, most of my patients, panel and private, live in and around the town, but I've a few in the outlying districts, even as far as Red Lanes and Dunside.
What about South Crag?
No, I've no one there.
Well, now, I'm curious to know about the Geddy house at Point Muir.
Oh, the strange man who's lived alone all these years. He's Dr. Cameron's patient, I believe.
Dr. Cameron?
Now, the inventory.
Aye. £200 for this.
Why not? After all, if you're going to expand, you're going to need all the extra equipment you can get. Now, filing system, cabinet, scales, bookshelves.
Some of the pieces Gilmore's trying to palm off must have been around when Moses was a boy.
So what do you think? Can it be made to change his mind?
Possibly, given time. His pride won't allow him to say it, but he's hurt and he needs to get away quickly. So, did Dr. Neil get away on time?
Oh, yes.
Oh. I say the place seems quieter without him.
It does indeed.
This man, James Geddy, out at White Muir.
Yes, what about him?
I'm told he's a patient of yours.
He was a patient of mine. The fact that I've not seen hide and hair of him for the last 10 years means he's no longer a patient. Ah, your good health.
And yours. Has any other practitioner asked for his records to be forwarded since then?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Well, don't you find that rather odd?
Considering the circumstances that surrounded Geddy's original illness, no, I don't. The man himself is odd.
And what is the original illness?
He had the weasels in his head.
I'm sorry.
They were his words, not mine, for morbid and obsessive rituals following the deaths of his parents in an accident.
What kind of accident?
A fire.
At the Geddy house?
No, at a hotel in Edinburgh. Following the tragedy, the family split up. But James Geddy stayed on at the house, where he spent so much time making sure that every last inch of the place was secure that he never found time to leave it. Now, do you think we could discuss something else?
No.
Oh, for God's sake, man, we're talking about something that happened almost 15 years ago. Belongs in the past. Let's leave it there.
What belongs in the past?
Excuse me, Dr. Finlay, it's Uncle Angus. He'd like to talk to you urgently.
Now, I never ever throw paperwork away. When I was at my predecessor, in our profession, as in yours, one is always answerable. I look back in the records, and these notes are from the Geddy house in the past. Requests for various patent medicines.
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong in that.
Look closely at them, Doctor. And then look at this morning's note.
This one's not the same.
Exactly. That is not James Geddy's signature.
Then whose is it?
It's all right. I can manage. Dr. Neil's case notes, they have to be filed.
I hope Dr. Neil told you it took months and months, oh, years to put these records together.
Yes, I realise that.
And it's important they stay in strict alphabetical order.
Well, I wasn't planning on scattering them around the room.
still insist on digging up the past. And all I can tell you about James Geddes' problem was that the man was suffering from severe obsessional neurosis.
And perhaps still is.
Then at least he has the good fortune to suffer in comfort. When his parents died, he was 21 years of age. He inherited everything, the estate, the money, the lot. He was left with an exaggerated fear of fire, and he would go to any lengths to make sure he wasn't the victim.
He told you this?
Yes, before he got worse and stayed away. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I have things to attend to.
What about Geddes' parents? Were they also your patients?
Yes?
What were they like?
I've already told you, John, I've no wish to rake up the past.
Why?
Because some things are best left unanswered, that's why.
Like what? Like the fire at that hotel in Edinburgh. Was that really an accident?
It was an accident. The fire service and the coroner confirmed that.
But some people still had their doubts. Is that it?
A few, yes.
And were you one of them?
I've already told you, now, pay no heed to gossip.
All right, tell me this. Is James Geddes an only child?
No.
Oh, Janet, I'll not be in for lunch today. I have to go out to Red Lanes.
All right. Do you want me to keep you something warm in the oven?
No, thank you.
I was all right till I got to the end.
I almost as right as rain. But I'm afraid you'll have to stay under your feet till the end of the week.
Oh, no. The child would never have gotten this state if we'd still been living out at South Crag. Whenever he plays with one of the kids in the street, he either gets hurt or he catches something.
South Crag? Is that when your husband was working on the land?
Yes.
Where at South Crag exactly?
At Whitemere, at the Geddes estate. We were there for about 2 years in one of the cottages. There were strange working conditions, mind.
In what way strange?
Well, we hardly ever saw Mr. Geddes, and we never once set foot inside the big house. He used to leave instructions and Tory's wages pinned to the door of the house.
So why did you leave?
We received notice from Mr. Geddes one day saying he was to be reunited with his family, and therefore our services would no longer be needed.
And when was this?
Last September. We thought it odd at the time. You see, we didn't think he had a family.
I'm all right.
You don't look all right.
I am. I've just a chill. That's all.
Quietly now. You've nothing to worry about. Our doctor. How long have you been feeling like this?
A week or so. Perhaps longer. I don't know.
I'm afraid you've got more than a chill. Do you think you could walk if I helped you up?
Yes. Don't worry, he'll have seen us. He'll answer the door when he's ready.
Are we talking about James Geddy?
Yes,
I thought he lived alone here.
he did. But I came home. He sent for me.
To do what? To work here?
No. I'm his sister.
Who are you?
I'm Dr. John Finlay.
Did you send for him?
No.
First you sent for cough bottles from the chemist, and now you send for doctor.
I wasn't exactly sent for, Mr. Geddy.
What will you send for next, I wonder? Matches? What's wrong with you?
Your sister's ill. She needs to get to her bed.
She mustn't be ill. Her room's upstairs. You didn't bring anyone with you, did you?
No.
Good. Only things to do.
Look. Have you been coughing up blood?
No.
Well, no walking around in this cold, windy place again. Not for a while, anyhow.
No, Doctor.
Why did you dress as your brother? Was it to hide yourself? Why?
Some people have long memories.
Lean forward, please. Breathe deeply again. Again. Fine, lean back.
You and your brother?
Yes,
You seem very close.
we were. We still are.
Despite having been apart for so long.
Yes. I said I would come back when the time was right. When he needed me most. You see, he can't cope with the outside world.
So, when did you leave home?
Nearly 15 years ago.
And why did you leave?
I was sent to stay with my aunt and uncle in France.
You mean you were made to go? But were you not happy here, in your childhood?
No.
Why?
Our parents didn't have much time. That's why.
You mean they didn't care?
I suppose they must have cared, yes. Sometimes. In their own way. You see, they were always busy,
Doing what?
enjoying themselves. When we were small, there were always parties in the south, somewhere else. We were left alone, upstairs. Used to frighten James. They knew that. It didn't seem to bother them. James has always been scared of fire. I never forgive him for that.
And yet it was your parents who were accidentally killed in a fire.
Yes.
The scars on your back, what caused them? Was it the same fire that killed your parents? So you were there, at that hotel in Edinburgh.
Yes. But I was saved.
Thankfully. But how was that? How were you saved?
I was awake. They were asleep.
And why wasn't your brother with you then?
Because they'd left him here, in the house, alone, to teach him a lesson. To teach him how to be alone. So he'd learn not to be scared. It was their way of doing things.
What happened in the hotel?
You know what happened?
How did the fire start?
They came back from the reception party they'd been to. Some grand do, they called it. They were merry, as usual. Too merry. Went straight to bed, to sleep. Didn't bother to talk to me. I believe there were some candles. Someone had lit some candles in their room. They were too drunk to notice. There's justice for you. Now, if you'd be good enough, Doctor, to tell my brother what's wrong with me, so he'll know what to do.
It looks like your sister may have bronchial pneumonia, Mr. Goody.
You mean she has to go into hospital?
No, she can stay here.
That's good. That's very good.
I've left those M&B tablets. Make sure she takes them. I've written instructions on the label.
Does that mean you'll not be coming back?
No. I'd like to see her again tomorrow. Miss Geddy, as you may or may not know, medical ethics require that there must be patient confidentiality.
Yes?
In view of what you just told me,
But I've told you nothing, Doctor. Nothing that's not already been said, in one way or another. Besides, Who's going to care? Sent away. After all these years.
Don't worry about the front door, Doctor. I'll lock up after you.